Justin.
Is that a good intro?
Yeah, that was an amazing intro. Thank you. And yeah, no, garbage person. I think that's we all think that about ourselves, but it's not true. Yeah, thank you for having me. This is awesome to be here and to see so many faces and see a lot of people I know and a lot of people I don't know. Like Justin said, I've been painting murals since the late 90s in Philadelphia, and I love the theme of revival, and the definition of revival is an improvement in the condition of something or a reawakening. And I grew up in Philadelphia. Who here grew up in Philadelphia? Not as many people, which is amazing that there's more people here who didn't grow up here. And I grew up in Center City, and I know there's one person here who grew up in Center City. Did anyone else grow up in Center City? Yay. So you know that there's, by at least my own standards, there's been a revival of sorts in Philadelphia at large, but also in Center City, Philadelphia, and the areas around it. This, just as a short diversion, this is a quote that I really like. Could we ever know each other in the slightest without the arts? And I came across this, I was in Canada, and this was printed on their $5 bill. And I thought, wow. These people really know what they're doing. And it's so true. But incredible. I hope we get there someday. And I haven't lost hope. And I hope we will. Maybe. But it's not just each other that we get to know. It's ourselves, and it has been for me. And so, yeah, thinking about this talk, and it's really cool to be asked to give a talk on a theme, and then think, okay, how do I tie in my experience to this theme? And revival, once I started thinking about it, there was a lot of ways that creativity and revival, personal revival, civic revival, all dovetail. This is a picture of my mom and my sister and I around 1980, near where we grew up at 12th and Locust. And there was this big parking lot there, and that's where we played all the time and learned to roller skate. And for the people who grew up in Center City, you know, there were fewer buildings. There was, as Philadelphia depopulated and deindustrialized in the 70s, there was a lot of things were torn down to make way for something new to come. But in the 80s, the new thing had not come. It was sort of like the bottom. And it was actually kind of cool that there was a lot of space. But it's been really exciting to see the revival in Philadelphia. And this is now, this is the corner now. There's a big Planned Parenthood building at the corner of 12th and Locust. And there's a few houses on the Sartain Street side of the property. So going back to the 80s, I was growing up, and at the same time, the community arts movement nationally had kind of gotten started in the 70s in Chicago and Philadelphia. And then in 1984, Mayor Wilson Goode started this visionary program, and probably a lot of you know the story. The Anti-Graffiti Network got started as a program that diverted people who were caught writing graffiti and tried to channel that energy into painting murals in their communities. And it was a really cool program because it kind of takes this, and I like graffiti and I like expression, but it takes what's in some ways a disordered creative expression, disordered in the sense of its role in the collective community, and brings it into a more orderly, positive expression. And throughout the 80s, the Mural Arts Program painted, or not the Anti-Graffiti Network, painted all these landscape murals all over Philadelphia, and they're still there. There's fewer of them, and they're faded now, but I still really, really like them. And there's something, they're very warm, and in a world of very polished things, especially polished by technology, the hominess of the Anti-Graffiti Network landscape murals is actually really heartening to me. In 1996, the Mural Arts Program that we know now was created, and it was spun off from the Anti-Graffiti Network. So the Anti-Graffiti Network still remains, and they paint out graffiti. But the Mural Arts Program was created to handle the mural painting in the city. And they started working with professional artists. And this is a mural at Broad and Spring Garden, which you probably have seen, by Meg Saligman, who is an amazing artist and someone I look up to. And I saw this, I moved back to Philadelphia in 1997 and saw this being painted. And I was kind of at a low ebb. I see revival as there's the other side of revival, which is, to me, decay. And there's this kind of decay and revival cycle. And Philadelphia in the 80s and early 90s was kind of coming out of the decay cycle. And in 1997, I was starting to come out of my own decay cycle, which was like a couple of years of partying in New York after college. And although it was really fun, and I look back on that time, I'd tell my kids stories of that time, the ones that you can tell. And it's funny, I used to tell my older daughter them. Now that she's like 13, I'm like more nervous about telling these stories because I'm like, no, but you don't really want to do that. But I just could not figure out what to do and how to get started. And I came back to Philadelphia, where I grew up, and just to chill out and see, just to kind of like get my bearings. And I saw this mural being painted, and I thought, wow, that is really inspiring and cool, and that's something I want to do. And the Mural Arts Program had really just gotten started as its own thing and was very small, and there was a lot of opportunity. And it was the beginning of this revival. The arts really are, I feel like, closely tied in to revival, and that's like that first quote. The arts, in my view, are the path to revival. There was a lot of opportunity, like I was saying, and people say opportunity only knocks once, but sometimes it knocks twice. In this case, Jane Golden, who is the director of the Mural Arts Program and is a sort of a local treasure, and is really the reason there's so many murals in Philadelphia, her energy, called me and said, do you want to paint a mural at 10th and Bainbridge? And I was like, no, I don't think so. I was going on a trip with a friend for a couple days or something. I was like, nah, I can't get there. And really luckily for me, a couple weeks later, she called back and said, come on, do you want to do a mural at 10th and Bainbridge? And I went there and took a look at the wall, and I was like, oh man, this is an amazing opportunity. And it was what I wanted to do. I just didn't have the sense at the time to say yes when opportunity knocked. And I'm grateful that it knocked again. And this is the mural that I painted at 10th and Bainbridge. There had been all these murals, these landscape murals in Philadelphia, and I thought, well, I haven't seen one of the city in the snow. There really wasn't a lot of oversight at the time in mural making, and they had just said, paint something architectural and kind of upbeat. And that's a pretty wide berth. Man, when I tell that story to people who are starting painting murals with the Mural Arts program now, they're very jealous because there are a lot of requirements now, and as there should be. But there was this kind of wide open time, in the same way that there were all these vacant lots that had turned into parking lots, and they were slowly getting built up. There was all this opportunity to paint murals. There were all these walls where buildings had been torn down, leaving a blank space. And that's really, in addition to Jane Golden, that's the reason there's so many murals, is that Philadelphia is this huge city where so much was torn down and so many blank spaces were left. But this mural was well received and was a big break for me, and contributed to a really nice little revival of my own spirits. I got to work painting murals of seasons in Philadelphia in a pretty open-ended way. This is 13th and Pine in the year 2000. And in the background, there's that crane, and that's the Kimmel Center getting built. And that had been a parking lot at Broad and Spruce. Now it's the Kimmel Center. And there was this blank wall with a parking lot in front of it. And I'm grateful that on a selfish level, the parking lot is still there, and so the mural is still there. And this is how it looks now. And that high rise there, that wasn't there either. That was a parking lot at Broad and Pine, and I'm trying to remember. It may have been a gas station, but there was surface level stuff going on, and now it's a big apartment building. I see that as a win for everybody. And there's a mural. So at the time, okay, I'm going to let this audio.
I like to eat up on the scaffolding so no one can get me.
There was this WHYY was doing a video, doing a documentary about like the new vitality of mural making in Philadelphia, and they gave me a camera to do video journaling, basically. And it was sort of like an early reality TV, and I taped myself painting this mural at 13th and Pine. And at the time, I really didn't want to, I painted the murals by myself, and I didn't want to work with other people. And it was one thing that attracted me to being an artist in the first place was this nervousness around, in some ways, I think deep down, just being judged by telling someone, trying to coordinate with another person how we were going to paint this, how we were going to paint something. And the truth was, I really didn't know. And I was really grateful to the Mural Arts program. In this era, they really let me just show up at the scaffolding and kind of work it out on the wall. And in this mural, I kind of, after a while, I think the mic just went off. But maybe I hit something. Okay, yeah, I'll keep going. I had, oh yeah, there we go. Where was I? Yeah, I just liked working by myself, and I can't say that was the best instinct, but that's where I was, and that's why I wanted to play that clip. I came across that clip getting ready for this talk, and I was like, oh, that's really how I felt. I just wanted to sort of like be by myself. here I am on another mural at 9th and Bainbridge, and there was a parking lot in front of this mural, which has been built on, and so this mural's not there anymore. And this is how it looked. And so I was painting these landscapes that were pixelated, and kind of wanted to see where that could go. I wanted to kind of distill it down to its elements. And this is an installation in a warehouse at 8th and Girard, which is no longer there, and that's a brand new building, and the revival of Northern Liberties. But I kind of got here to just painting big squares and colors. And then it was funny, it was the end of the road, and I didn't know where to go. And I had sort of developed this narrative for myself, which became like a box, which was that I painted landscapes that were pixelated landscapes. And then it felt very constraining. And what do you do when, it was all self-imposed, but what do you do when when you feel kind of trapped? And so creativity really is the path back to revival. And I took some time off and started doing some paintings. This is a painting that I called Ice Cave, but the feeling was like being in a cave or in the basement and being in there, but like I wanted to go up those steps into the light. But like what is it? What's going to happen in that parking lot at 12th and Locust? I think nobody like knew whenever they tore that building down. And it's hard to let go of things. And I can be, it's really hard for me to let go of things. And I tend to want to preserve everything and believe in historic preservation. And getting ready for this talk, I started thinking, no, you have to let go. And sometimes you got to let a building get torn down, even though I hate that. This was sort of the last thing I did on this journey of trying to figure out what to do next. I had a childhood alter ego, which was named Volto. And Volto was this armored character who drank gasoline and it was like from 3 or 4 years old, like in that picture with my mom. And I really didn't know what I was doing, but I was like, I'm going to make this little sculpture of Volto out of cardboard. But it's, I think, really where I was trying to go and what I eventually became conscious of is like, I want to take off the armor and try and work with other people and do something a little looser than these boxes. And I went on this artist residency and started just doing sketches that I tried to keep to 20 minutes and tried really hard not to edit while I was doing it, and just whatever came to mind, just put it into the sketch. And this for me was like life felt very out of balance, and this was the beginning of seeking to get back into balance and find some kind of revival in myself. And this is another sketch from that time of like this feeling of being like, okay, it's kind of cool to work on these murals all by myself, and I'd tell myself that I was like really tough because I could do it. But like it was lonely and not that fun. This is sort of like further along that path of just trying to like describe my all of the little drawings thrown into like a bigger painting, and what is just trying to be like who am I, and where could things go, and that what is the story I want to tell, and this really was like a revival, and it was connected with mural arts. I got to show this painting in the Aikens house, the headquarters of the mural arts program. And so I came, after taking a couple of years off, I came back to mural painting, and this mural is at the foot of the South Street Bridge. And I think someone said it already today, but to to begin something new, you kind of have to, I have found I have to start back where I left off. And so there's still like the geometric mural painting, but I wanted to bring in this new kind of narrative storytelling into murals. And this mural's at the foot of the South Street Bridge at 26th and South. And it was, the narrative I told was that this is about going through a doorway as you go from West Philly to Center City, as you're kind of changing states in a sense. But on a personal level, it was about me also transitioning into something new. And I put myself into this mural, which it was the only time I think that I've done that. But it meant a lot to me to be trying to like do something new. And actually I still did this mural by myself, but I was like really trying to get out of the box. I was really trying. But it led to this, and this is like this is like the high point in the decay revival cycle. And this is like right around the time that I met the person who became my wife. And this is right by 12th and Locust, right by where that parking lot was. And these houses that you see there, that's part of what was on that parking lot. And in the background is the furthest building that you can see in the slide is the Planned Parenthood building that you see at the corner of 12th and Locust. But this is a garden at Sartain and Locust Street. And it felt really fun to paint. It was like as far as I could get from painting squares was to paint in this more expressionist, watercolory, almost improvisational way. And I finally started working with people, and this is my buddy Josh, and this is my wife Desiree, but we weren't married yet, and she's a great artist, and I never have really loved painting figures, and I was like, you come and paint on this mural, and she painted my sister into the mural who was in that first slide, and that's my sister at age 2 maybe. And it was the kind of peak of the revival cycle. This is at Fleischer Art Memorial in Bella Vista, more still kind of following that template from the early Anti-Graffiti Network murals, but trying to use it my own voice. This is at 21st and Sansom above the Shake Shack. And then once again, I kind of had the idea, I'm going to try and distill this down to its elemental roots. And this is a mural in South Philly at 4th and Manton Street. And this was, I think, 2014 or 2015. And it's just the big brushstrokes from the Shake Shack mural, and I isolated them out and rearranged them and removed all the naturalistic references. And when I got here, just like at the warehouse on Girard Avenue, I was like, that might be it. What am I going to do now? And the one thing that I really was sure about is like, I want to work with people. I wasn't sure whether I was kind of trapped by this narrative around being like a mural guy. And so I applied to graduate school in social work and thought, well, there's going to be a new path for me. But I couldn't quite pull the trigger. I got in, and then I deferred for a year. And then in that year, well, I was like, I was telling everybody I'm going to go to graduate school for social work, which would be a great thing and would have been an interesting path. But I didn't do it. I got a little grant from the Knight Foundation to do a small mural, and I really didn't know what I wanted to do. But I thought, well, maybe it would be easy if it was somewhere in the neighborhood that I live in South Philly. And neighbors said, well, why don't you take a look at this street, Percy Street? There's nothing going on there. And it's actually, well, there's a lot that goes on there, like people using it as a bathroom and dumping their trash and doing drugs and stuff. And like, if you could do something back there that would draw people back there, maybe having more eyes on the street would discourage some of that behavior. And then they said, you know what? And what would be really cool is if it was lit at night. And they said, you know, we know this guy. This is all people at the Passyunk Square Civic Association. And they said, there's this guy, Drew Bilyeu, who's a lighting designer, and he's a cool guy, and you should meet him, and you guys should work together. And this is Drew said, okay, let's. It was his idea. He was like, let's do a mural that includes lighting. Let's integrate painting and lighting. And at the time, I was like, yeah, that'll be cool. And then I can get this done, and I can go to graduate school for social work. And this is this little alleyway, and no one's going to see it. And the alleyway was definitely in the decay part of the cycle. And this is what the wall looked like. And then this is 2016. And then this is how it turned out. And it was like that. And there was this, I was in the decay cycle, and the Percy Street was, and then it brought us out of it. Again, the creativity kind of like began in revival. And this completely transformed my career and was a huge revival. In addition to not knowing formally what I wanted to do in painting, I was also sort of like, maybe I said everything I can say. And mural arts had changed, and there were lots of mural painters, and they're really good. And I was like, I don't know if I can work as hard as everybody, as I could earlier, 15 years earlier, and maybe I should just let it go. But this was a big deal, and then people wanted me to do this again, and wanted Drew and I to do this again. And the thing that I really liked about it, in addition to working with Drew and working with some other people who helped paint it, was it brought a lot of people together. It was very social, and I think this is the most people that had ever been on Percy Street at one time for the opening of the mural. And it was like really inspiring. I was like, this means something to people. This is cool. And then the neighbors of their own volition were like, let's keep this going. And they organized, and together we organized these community paint days where we painted the street. And it really was a community. Then it attracted other artists to do murals back there, which was super inspiring to me. And this is a mural by Dora Cuenca, who's a great muralist in Philadelphia. And she painted this mural that was a backdrop for this marriage proposal. And that people were going back to Percy Street to like propose was really something. It's amazing. And in the, art, people, sometimes I think I have gotten numb to phrases like art saves lives, and because it can feel like too much. But I will say, art can change things, and it can initiate this cycle of revival. And on Percy Street, like some of the garages there, which were basically disused, got redeveloped. Someone just built a house on Percy Street and sold it for like a lot of money. Like a developer, which is, again, inconceivable. And it actually is still, and I'm stuck in the past. I'm like, I don't know if I'd want to live there. It's still like there's still people hanging out. But there's a lot more art. And it attracted all manner of art, and all wheat pasting, stickers, all kinds of cool stuff. I love this piece. I don't know, like, it's so cool. This is like a sardine can, or like an Altoids tin. It's tiny, but I noticed it one day. Someone had like screwed this Altoids can and arranged these tiny plastic animals on it. I was like, I love that this person probably would have done this somewhere, but I love that the Percy Street had become a place to do this, and for everyone to sort of like begin their, or like to go on their creative journey in their own personal revival. So it led to Drew and I getting to travel a bunch and do these murals in other places, in the effort to, like mural arts in Philadelphia, that was really, painting murals in the hopes of catalyzing positive change and initiating a revival. We got to go to Nova Scotia. This is in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, Toronto. This is popular in Canada, but they that's the quote was on the money. And you know what? I just, as an aside, I feel really bummed about what's going on right now because I feel like they're not going to want me to come back as an American right now. The affection was mutual. I like Canada too. And just last summer and fall, went to Miami and did a project there, which was really hard. But one of the highlights was, like Justin was saying, we got to meet and along this journey, and Justin worked on the lighting and designed this lighting system here. And man, it's so much better not to do things by yourself, and in fact, impossible to really do something this complex by yourself. And it's great to work with great people. And that's sort of like the narrative arc here for my revival, is like taking off the armor. And a little bit, I think some of it's still there, but I'm trying. And this is 6th Street and 6th and Vine in Philadelphia, near the Ben Franklin Bridge. And then this is the most recent project, and this is a little video. I just wanted to show you. That's JG. He's a master of many things. Not just a tech wizard and a great public speaker and connector of all things in Philadelphia, but he's operating the chop saw and like drilling into the wall too. And this is a new project at Schuylkill Yards, just west of 30th Street Station on JFK Boulevard. That's sponsored by Brandywine Realty Trust, and which is going to be finished very shortly, and which is pretty much finished, but we're just tweaking the lights. That's it. Thank you guys so much for listening and for having me here. And yeah, it's a big honor.